be too long. But I'm going to show you a fun trick. So I have this really long stem that's too long. If I cut too high up here, this is going to get, this little tiny piece here, it's going to go under the water. And I don't want that. This is a really nice little piece. If I cut right above that tiny little piece, now I have two. This is still long enough to use in my vase, and this is long enough as well. Again, stripping off all the greenery so it doesn't go below the water. Now everybody has a different design aesthetic. I tend to make one side higher than the other. If you want to make yours fairly uniform, you can do so, trying to keep everything at roughly the same height. The one thing I do want you to keep in mind is that everybody's arrangement is going to go in a different place. So if my arrangement is going to go in the center of, say, my dining table, I want it to be pretty from all sides. I also have a very long rectangular dining table, so having an oblong shape helps fill the space. Now if I was going to say put this over here on our sideboard, my arrangement is already going to be a little too high for my shelf, but I also need to know that I don't need to put any flowers in the back here. I can design just in the front and on the sides. I don't need to design in the back. So keep that in mind when you're creating the base of your arrangement. I forgot. This is flower food. You will be getting some. You can choose to use it or don't. I don't often use flower food, but it is available for you if you do want to use it. Just feeds your flowers. So continuing with the bupleurum. So because these have been sitting out on the table for a little bit, I'm going to give them just a tiny little fresh cut. It doesn't need to be a full inch. You can see my vase arrangement is fairly large right now. And I'll show you if it gets to be too big, I'll show you a trick as we go along. You got a little excited about how big your arrangement was going to be. So I have these teeny tiny little pieces. I'm going to set those aside for now. I have another little piece. I'm just going to set it aside to use later, just in case I have a hole. And I'm going to do one more that's kind of high, maybe too high. In these early stages of your design, it's easy to stick things in and out, but as you start building, it will get a little difficult. I would recommend keeping a garbage can close to you so you can get rid of all your leaves and debris. You can accidentally throw something really nice away if you have a dirty table. So try to keep your station clear. All right, next I'm going to move on to my, I wouldn't necessarily call this large and substantial, but this is my umbrella frame. There are two times I can put this. I can put this in now and design around it, or I can put it in later around my show-stopping hyacinth. I'm gonna wait. You can put it in now if you want to. If you want to know that, like, if you have a flat side, this is gonna have to go towards the front. But I'm gonna wait and see where I need to put it later. So next I'm gonna go with some of my bigger blooms. I'm gonna use my snapdragons. So going along this same idea of the shape of my arrangement, we have 3 snapdragons. Another common idea is that you have to have things arranged in groupings of 1 or 3, which isn't always the case. So I have 3 snapdragons. I can have 2 arranged together if I just don't have them at the exact same height. So if I were to put these 2 snapdragons in my arrangement at the exact same height like this, it wouldn't be very pretty. But if I take my 2 snapdragons and I offset them just enough, they still have some interest. And we can also have the tips of the snaps going in different directions. So now snapdragons like to follow the light. So this is one thing also to keep in mind with where your arrangement is going to go. For example, if I have this arrangement in this room and the windows are behind me, these snapdragons, the tips of them and the whole flower themselves, they're both going to slowly rotate and point this way towards my window. So keep that in mind when you're making your arrangement. So again, this is the easiest way to do this is move your arrangement to the end of your table. So my bupleurum was creating the size of my arrangement. Now I'm adding And this is what's gonna add a little bit of movement to your arrangement. So you'll see that your snaps are gonna fit in really nice because you have that good base from your Floral stems, creating a little tangle inside your vase. So I have them at 2 separate heights. And now this one, you could bunch them all together and have all 3 on one side. I'm gonna go for having one on the other side, having it a little bit lower than the others. Okay. My next flower I'm going to use is my iris. So now these aren't open right now. They will open in a couple days, which is kind of nice because it'll delay how they look in your arrangement. So your arrangement will change. So as other things are dying, these will start waking up. So if you need to move them around to different places, you'll be able to. And what I'm doing is I'm just pulling all these outer leaves off because we don't need those. I think I'm going to put them at the same height as my snapdragon. You can choose to put them wherever you'd like, whether you want them up here, whether you want them one on either side. It is totally up to you. If you do have them one on either side, please make sure that you have them at different heights so they don't look like antenna. For example, this would look like antenna. But if I have one just a little bit lower, they no longer look like antenna and they look more like a natural garden. Too high. Now I'm always going in at an angle. I'm not going straight up and down vertically into my vase. The reason being, if I have a flower straight up and down, it's looking up at the ceiling and I'm not going to be able to see its beautiful face. By turning it out and going into my vase at an angle, you're going to actually be able to see most of the flowers. So the next flower I'm going to use is my butterfly ranunculus. Some of you may have 3 stems, some of you may have 2 stems, some of you may have one really bunchy stem. I try to just get everybody the same amount of blooms. So for example, this one, I can cut this down to make multiple stems that I can piece it. And again, I'm taking all the leaves that'll be below the water line. So these flowers, I'm going to start putting in a little bit lower. They're not going to be at the same height as the snapdragons. Starting to bring everything down. Sometimes people have a tendency to cut everything really long and then all the blooms are all at the same height. We want to have some variation in height. Some up, some down. The dog is very angry about the squirrels outside. So my arrangement isn't going to be going against a wall, so I need to make sure I have flowers from every side. Another thing you can do while you're making your arrangement, it's kind of hovering above it right now, is to get down low and look at it. It would really be helpful if you happen to have a Lazy Susan, borrow one from your spice cupboard. Then you can be turning this and looking at it without having to actually pick it up and turn it. I got a couple more of these butterfly ranunculus. I'm actually going to leave one just in case for later. Now I'm moving on to my white tulips. So your tulips might not be white, but either way, there's five of them for the showstopper. Everybody will have a different color. So I'm going to start putting my tulips in. Now the tulips you can also do in varying heights. Again, try not to have them too tall. Tulips continue to grow in your arrangement, so know that wherever you put them, they might end up being an inch higher the next day. So you can start off with them being a little bit low, knowing that they're going to grow. You can can go all around your arrangement, putting them throughout. You can bunch them together. This is completely up to you. Everybody has a different aesthetic that they like. I don't like things to be too polka dotted and even, so I like to group things together, whether in 2s or 3s, with the occasional single stem every once in a while. Again, it's okay to have 2s and 3s. By this time, it might start feeling a little tight to stick things in, so we're starting with flowers that are a little more stiff and forgiving, and then working our way towards the delicate things. So next, I'm going to move on to my double tulips. If you have broken petals like this, you can try to bend them and break them off. Be very gentle. You're not going to bend the actual stem and break it, or you can cut them. So because I only have